Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals meeting. It is currently 6 o'clock, and I will call the meeting to order. We're first going to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Secretary, may we have roll call, please?
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez.
Here.
Member Van Dieven. Here. Member Wheelis.
Here.
Alternate Member Mandranak.
Here.
Alternate Member Van Zyl-de-Jong.
Okay, having a quorum, we'll move on to an approval of the minutes. So if you haven't already done so, please take a look at the December 2nd, 2021 minutes, which are found on page 4 of your PDF. And after review, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion.
I have a second. I second it.
I have a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the minutes are approved. Moving on to our notice to our public. Good evening, everyone. All persons who anticipate speaking on any public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on a particular agenda item and sign that oath card thereon. These cards are located on the table near the entrance to the council chamber, or they may be obtained from our recording secretary. This meeting will be conducted in accordance to the procedures adopted in resolution number 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first, those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make public comment on the item will speak third. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative from either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the commission to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. So please submit those exhibits to our recording secretary. So for those in your audience, if you haven't already done so, please be sure to fill out your oath card and get that to our recording secretary. Are you the applicant? You should probably fill out an oath card just in case. You don't have to speak. You're not required to speak. But if you are, we do need to have your card filled out. So no harm in filling it out. Okay. All right. Okay, to our staff, good evening. Have all items been properly advertised?
Yes.
All right. And to our members on our board, have any of you all visited any of the sites or spoken to any members, applicants, or the public regarding any item on our agenda this evening?
I have visited.
Okay.
I have visited numerous sites, not recently.
Okay. And any visits you believe that would interfere with your ability to make a fair and impartial decision today? All right, then we are ready to move on. Looking at our agenda, there are no items under our consent agenda. There are also no items under old business, which brings us to new business. Moving on to Variance 1-2022 at 3720 Kite Street. And with that, I will turn it over to staff.
Thank you. So the applicant, Russell Barnhill and Francis Barnhill, are requesting a variance to section 1.8E, principal building setbacks, to allow a variance of 9 feet 9 inches into the required 20-foot rear yard setback for the placement of a metal awning with screening over a patio in the rear yard, located at 3720 Kite Street. The zoning is Plan Development, PD. The zoning to the south, east, and west is also PD, and to the north, Open Space and Recreation, OR. Property is 9,000 square feet in size, which does meet the 8,000 square foot minimum required for a lot in the zoning. The lot has 100 feet of frontage on Kite Street, and per section 1.8B, the minimum required lot width is 70 feet. Currently, the lot contains one detached single-family home that has 2,600 plus square feet of living space. So in the interest of time, being that we do have our 5th board member slated to leave at 7 p.m., I was going to go ahead and skip ahead to the analysis and just skip the criteria of the BAA. You guys are okay with that?
That's fine. We're all familiar with it and we have access to it, so you may.
So the applicant is requesting a variance to encroach 9 feet 9 inches into the 20-foot rear yard setback for a metal awning with screening over a patio to be attached to the home. Section 1.8 of the Plan Development Ordinance states that setbacks in the South Carpenter Estates be 20 feet. The PD Master Plan was approved in 2017 for the development of a 70-lot single-family residential subdivision. The original zoning permits a minimum lot size of 1 acre. The developer used the PD process to rezone the property to allow a lot size of 8,000 square feet in order to preserve wetlands. Specific setbacks were also approved with the rezoning to accommodate houses and accessory structures. A 2,000 square foot home could be constructed on the smaller lot and still meet the reduced setback standards without a variance. So in the staff report, we're able to see the differences between the PD and the residential estate, with the minimum lot size going from 1 acre to 8,000 square feet. Same building size, and the setbacks going from 35 feet to 20 feet for the front and rear, and for the side setback 5 feet. Staff estimates that the building is approximately 3,500 plus square feet and located 20.1 feet from the rear property line. The additional 10 foot by 35 foot metal awning with screening over a patio will be attached to the rear of the home and encroach 9 feet 9 inches into the rear setback, the 20-foot rear setback. The request does not appear to meet the hardship criteria. The lot is standard to the South Carpenter Estate subdivision, and there are no special or unusual conditions on the property that prevent the owner from its beneficial use. The house was originally constructed with an attached screen porch. The proposed metal awning and screening over patio appears to be a new screen porch, and the request does not appear to me to be the minimum necessary. So we see that the living area is 2,673 square feet, the garage 669 square feet, the entry area 26 square feet, and the porch is 154 square feet for a total 3,522 square feet. Staff recommends denial of the request to encroach into the rear yard setback. In granting the variance, special conditions and circumstances result from the actions of the applicant. The lot does meet the minimum lot size in the PD zoning. Granting the variance will not preserve the spirit of the ordinance and will not remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. The house size exceeds the minimum required in the PD ordinance and was constructed with an attached screen porch. The attachment, or the proposed attachment over a patio, will significantly reduce the rear yard setback. So if I can direct you all to page 23 of the agenda, we have the survey of the home. And you can see within the home, the original built home, there is a 17 by 9 foot screen porch that was built with the home, and the proposed porch, the 10 foot by 34 foot, is what's being proposed tonight, or being requested as a variance to tonight. You see the encroachment at the rear yard setback, leaving 10 feet 3 inches. And I want to also direct you to page 29, the agenda, where the ordinance states the principal setbacks for 20 feet for the rear yard. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fontes. Any questions from our board members for staff?
Does the, excuse me, does the survey indicates a extremely irregular lot? Is that taken into consideration in putting together your?
Although the lot is irregular in shape, staff did not feel that that is circumstantial, with the request being that there is already the attached screen porch and the lot size is able to be met with the setbacks as is.
If I'm understanding on page 23, the yellow portion that says proposed one-story residence, the porch is set kind of within it, so the structure of the house is kind of around it on both sides, as opposed to just having it open back there?
Correct.
Any other questions?
Chair,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
so looking at 23, it appears that directly behind this irregular shaped lot is a wooded conservation area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And because it's a conservation area, nothing can be built behind this property line?
That is correct.
No other houses in this development have a porch such as this one proposed or built?
I would have to look at the surrounding area to see whether or not there are similar porches. Give me a second. So the area that I have, I'm not able to see specifically if there are screen porches that are attached to the home, like as an as-built. The pulling up an aerial from Google Maps should be able to give me a better picture.
Not always. What's the age of this development? When was the house constructed?
The home was constructed in 2020.
So the likelihood that this might be the first of requests that might ask for a porch addition, or, you know, it might set a precedent for sure, but. And the setback at 20 feet, is that the,
Was your question whether or not the setback is 20 feet for the
yeah,
property?
setback requirement is 20 feet?
That is correct for the rear yard.
Like a lot.
Any other questions?
That's all I've got.
Thank you. Anybody else present with questions? Hearing none, I will open it up to the public. Madam Secretary, do we have any oath cards?
No, sir. No, ma'am. Sorry.
How to have it, right? All right. Just a reminder to any of you sitting out there, if you wish to speak on this particular item, you do need to fill out an oath card. If not, I will close this portion of the public hearing, turn it back over to the board for any discussion, motion to grant or deny this variance request. Any comments?
I actually had a question for the owner.
Sir, did you want? So, you are welcome to speak. You just have to fill out a card first. Okay. If you could hand that over to our secretary, I'll be happy to invite you up to the podium. All right, sir, you may come up to the podium. You may come up to the podium here. And would you please just first give us your name and your address?
My name's Russell Barnhill. I'm at 3720 Kite Street,
Okay.
and it's
You-
my house.
Okay, you have the floor. What would you like us to know?
Okay, the subdivision, like I said, is about 2 years old. The problem all started when they put the corners in on the house. They put the corners 10 feet back from where they were supposed to be. They went ahead, put all the plumbing, laid the slab, had the walls up. When they put the trusses on, they realized the house wasn't where it was supposed to be. So normally we would have had the room. But because everything got moved back, they gave us a choice, either tear the house down and start over or go with what we had. And we'd already been 2 months behind. So we went ahead and took the house as is.
All right, thank you, sir. Don't go anywhere just yet. Any of our board members have a question for this witness?
I have a couple of questions. You may go ahead. Yes, one, there's a conservation area behind you that will not be built on. Correct. And also to the west side of your property is also undevelopable property. Correct. Is that correct? When we look at the site plan, you'll see that that's part of the conservation area wraps around is titled as Tract C, but it's also undevelopable. Would you have any hesitation in allowing the patio to be moved to the east, line up with the edge of the existing porch? What that will do will be reduce some of the required setback. Well, here's the concrete's already in for the whole porch. It was approved we got a permit through the city. It was approved and everything. The homeowners association approved the whole project. The architectural review board approved the whole project. And so everything was there. And then the contractor that's going to put the actual metal up and the roof on, when they applied for a permit to do that, that's when we were told it was in the setback. So we're kind of after the fact now. Again, would you have any problem allowing the screen enclosure to be moved over to line up with the existing patio? Because that would go a long way towards allowing us to consider approving this. I'm trying to understand which way you're talking. Towards the west? Moving to the east. To the east? To the east. Your encroachment is magnified. The further west you go, the more magnification, the more encroachment into the rear yard setback. You can move it east, it reduces it a couple of feet. The end, on the furthest west side, that's going to be just a outdoor cooking area. Okay? And everything, that would be, the furthest west, 10 feet. If that makes it. It won't be in a screened-in area. It will not be part of the structure. Well, it will have a roof on it because we want to put a grill there. Yeah. Sure. So your answer is essentially no, you can't. Well, at this point, it would be kind of hard. I mean,
That's okay. Upon discussion amongst the board, we can always invite the applicant to entertain other options later on.
If we were told before we pulled the slab in that we were in the wrong place, okay, we could have corrected it then, but at this point, it'd be kind of hard. Thank you.
Other questions?
So you said your house was moved back, but really they gave you 10 additional feet on your house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Seeing no other lights or questions for this witness, sir, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
On that note, I know I need to ask staff a question. So this request for a variance is really only related to the metal awning. The concrete that's already been poured with a permit is appropriately there.
I can't answer whether or not it's appropriately there. I don't know if they went and got a permit for the concrete. What I do know, what's being proposed tonight or discussed tonight is the awning.
Any other questions for staff or clarification? Okay. And to confirm with our secretary, no other oath cards on this matter?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so officially closing the public hearing, back to discussion amongst the board. So anyone, comments?
My only comment, they put a slab in. They were granted that that was all right. Now we're telling them because they want to put something over that slab, they shouldn't be able to do that. I guess I don't understand how it could have been missed when the slab went in, and now it's being picked up. Seems a little inconsistent to me, anyhow, and it seems to be almost basically borders on really putting them in a bind. Because if they had been told no on the slab, they would never have gone forward with the.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I guess the reality is we can't, even if there is a nonconformity with the existing slab, we can't increase. Seem appropriate. Some mitigating circumstance we could probably.
Well, in my mind, we're putting them, what is the purpose of the setback? Setback usually, and you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, is basically to give enough leeway between homes for movement, whatever needs to be moved around within a community. At least that's what I perceive. You could still move things around. There's nothing going to be built behind them, so there's nothing going to encroach further towards that house.
I would think that proving it would set a precedence for any other nearby homes to do the same thing.
It would set a precedent if they were under the same conditions, then we would have to grant. But if it was in different conditions, not necessarily. I'm just trying to, it's a very fine line split. If you're setting a precedent, you're setting a precedent that if something has already been placed, kind of almost grandfathered. And that's where I'm.
Mr. Fontes, when a slab for a patio is to be poured, it should also be considered what the setbacks are before it is poured?
Correct.
And is there a way that you have or an ability right now to confirm whether a permit for the slab as
Yes,
indicated?
I found that there has been a residential alterations permit that was applied for October 12th, 2021, and it was approved final November 23rd, 2021 for the contract for the concrete, Dave Weinstein concrete. I'm trying to get the details of that contract to see if there's any detail about the overhead.
ignoring the fact of the overhead, it would be a fair interpretation of that permit being issued that on page 23 of our packet that we're looking at, the patio to be covered as indicated there was properly poured with permission from the city or the building department who would have looked at setbacks.
Yes,
correct?
the concrete was finalized and permitted by the city, but the code does differentiate between vertical structures and concrete.
Right.
So the analysis of whether or not a roof to the concrete was permissible may not have been addressed if it was not presented as part of the project.
I would assume that if it was presented as part of the project, we wouldn't be here today. Okay, that clarifies a couple things. Any further discussion amongst our board or any interest in moving to grant or deny the variance?
I would like clarification on what you proposed as an alternative to where they want to place the roof.
What I was referring to would be to move the patio enclosure, line up with the porch. Survey, move it over to your right, survey. What that does is moves that corner over the point where the angle house and survey line creates a separation. So you have less of
The 5 feet here,
encroachment.
the 5 feet.
Yes.
And is the concrete patio still accessible to them if they did make that alteration?
Yep.
Seeing no other lights for discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Purpose of bringing it to a vote, I move to approve variance 1, 2022, 3720 Kite Street, reducing the rear yard setback 9 feet.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second?
I have a second. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none. May we please have roll call?
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez,
No.
Member Van Deven, Member Wheelis,
Oh.
Alternate Member Mandranak,
No.
Alternate Member Van Zilderjong.
The motion does not carry. The variance is denied, which will conclude this particular item. on
Prior
our
to the
agenda.
conclusion, Chair, could you please state the basis for the denial record?
Oh. Yes, I can. Only me or all of us who voted no?
I
Just
would
one?
prefer at least one or all four if you choose to, but we need to have a basis on the record.
For the purposes of the record, I will state that my denial of the variance is based upon not having unique circumstances or circumstances unique to this particular land. Anyone else wish to put their basis on the record?
That the variance requested was not the minimum variance that would make possible.
Thank you. Not required, but any others? No. All right. Thank you to our applicant. I appreciate your time and attendance today. The variance has been denied. I'm not sure what your other options are. You're welcome to communicate with the city or other avenues. Good luck to you. So Unfortunately, two things. I can't have you speak unless you're at the podium, and our particular matter has concluded already. So I would invite you to communicate further with the city or other avenues to pursue your options. Thank you, sir. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the hearing. You're also welcome to leave. Bringing it back to the board, I will now turn it over for variance 2-2022 at 4005 Lejeune Avenue regarding a room addition. Staff, please enlighten us.
Thank you. So the applicant, Kelly Egbert of Paul Davis Restoration, is requesting a variance to section 28-304C, intensity and dimensional standards, to allow less than the minimum 25-foot rear yard setback for property located at 4005 Lejeune Avenue. The the zoning on the property is single-family medium density, as is to the north, south, and west, and to the east is general use. The property is 8,276 square feet, which does meet the minimum square foot required for a lot in the zoning district. The lot has 82 feet of frontage on Lejeune Avenue, and the minimum required per section 28304 is 75 feet. The lot contains one detached single-family home. Once again, I'll skip ahead to the analysis. So the applicant is requesting a variance for an encroachment of 9 feet into the 25-foot rear yard setback for the development of a room addition. Per section 28-304, the required rear yard setback is 25 feet. The applicant is proposing to develop the room for the purposes of making the home wheelchair accessible, as the homeowner is disabled, and the additional space will accommodate proper wheelchair access. So according to the applicant, the owner of the home is a disabled veteran. The proposed room addition will be located at the rear of the home and connected to the master bed and bathroom. The increase in space will allow for a roll-in shower, increased toilet space access, and a roll-under bathroom vanity. The existing square footage of the home is 1,703 square feet. The additional increase the square footage of the home to 1,857 square feet, which is well below the 35% building coverage maximum in the R1B zoning. With the addition of the proposed room, the home will remain similar in size with the surrounding homes in the area. According to property records, the average square foot of homes surrounding the property is 1,900 square feet. So in addition to the rear yard setback, a 5-foot public utility and drainage easement is located along the rear and side of the home, and the proposed room addition should not impact the easements. There is also, the home is also located in the area of critical concern, and being that the home was platted in 1965, it predates the existing ACC impervious surface standards. So staff does recommend approval of the request to allow a variance of 9 feet for the 25-foot rear yard setback. In granting the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. The applicant is proposing the room addition of 154 square feet, which is located at the rear of the home. In addition, the granting of the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. The request will not negatively impact the character of the neighborhood, as the proposed room addition is located at the rear of the home and will not have any visual impacts as a result of the addition. So I just want to point you to page 2nd, I'm sorry. Page 43 of the agenda, which shows where the proposed room addition will be located. So we see that it's going to be located at the rear of the home towards the, I guess if you're facing the home, towards the right side of the home, well out of view from neighboring properties. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff?
The property directly behind the applicant's property is that the church?
It is a parking lot now. Whether or not it's a church, I believe so, but
Is
yes.
it a church parking lot?
Any other questions of staff? Seeing none. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers?
Yes, Kelly Egbert.
You may go up to the podium to at least introduce yourself, your name and address,
I will do
please.
that. That's Kelly Egbert. I don't know if you want my personal address or the business address.
Business is fine.
It's 3181 Skyway Circle in Melbourne.
Mr. Egbert, since you're here, is there anything that you would like to tell us or point out regarding this?
Well, the key reason for this is, we've done a number of VA renovations for veterans to try to make homes wheelchair accessible. We started this process with Mr. Weisgerber probably 14 months ago, I believe now. Takes a long time to get this process going, and it wasn't until we just got to the point we were getting some engineering done, and the engineer told me, hey, we need a 25-foot setback. We've put in screening closures up in Titusville. It's always been 15 foot. So in our heads, when we were originally starting this process, we thought we were still 15 foot. We knew we were at 16 foot with this, so we thought everything was fine. It wasn't until we actually had that engineer come up that he told us about the 25-foot variance. So that's why we came, or the setbacks, that's why we came in to try to get that variance. The major issue we have is there's really no other good location in his property to be able to extend it out to give him that bathroom that he needs. The only other area would possibly be his porch area, and then he'd be losing access to his porch, and just really would not be any way to really get in and out of the house, out that back section without, putting that addition on where we have it located right now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egbert. I appreciate that. Don't go anywhere yet. Any questions from our board members? You're free to sit down.
Okay, thank you.
Any other speakers?
No, ma'am.
All right. Bring it back for discussion to our board or any further, I should ask, any further questions of staff?
Perhaps staff could enlighten us as to what differentiates this scenario from the previous one looked at. Can you tell me why you I see the reasons that you listed in your report. I'm having a hard time actually differentiating.
So being that the addition is proposed for a 154 square foot room, we felt that that's the minimum. They're requesting a minimum variance, whereas the request before, they already had that screen enclosure, the screen porch. So we felt that that wasn't the minimum. The minimum variance wasn't necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, closing the public, having the public hearing, I guess technically already closed. Any further discussion, comments amongst the board, or ready to move for a motion to grant or deny the variance? I will comment for discussion purposes. Member Willis's comment regarding the difference between the two, which I had also thought. And I will also point out in this particular matter where we discuss the language that says the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure would take into consideration unique circumstances to the individual or applicant, which have been outlined both in the presentation and the application. Obviously, hardship does not pertain to the person, it pertains to the land, but circumstances that make a building or structure reasonably used might apply. My second thought on that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I vote to approve the variance 2-2022 at 4005 Lejeune Avenue for the room addition.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Thank you. Any further discussion on this topic? Seeing none and hearing none, Madam Secretary, may we please have roll call?
Member Van Deven? Member Wheelis?
Yes,
Alternate Member Mandernack?
Yes.
Alternate Member Van Zildjian?
Yes,
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez?
Yes. Having everyone voted yes, the variance is approved. You are welcome. You are welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. We wish you very good luck. Thank you for your attendance. Well, happy birthday to your granddaughter. Thank you. All right, bringing it back to the board, we're now moving on to variance number 3-2022 at 709 Wager Avenue. Staff, would you please enlighten us?
Thank you. The applicant, Thomas Davis, is requesting a variance to Land Development Regulations Section 28-305C to allow less than the minimum lot width required for the placement of a single-family dwelling at property located in the R1C zoning. The parcel in its existing configuration is a 0.34 acre lot that the applicant wishes to split into two for the development of one single-family dwelling on each lot. The development standards in the R1C zoning requires a minimum 900 square foot home on a 6,500 square foot lot. The zoning on this property is a single-family high-density R1C. To the north, single-family high-density as well. To the south, single-family high-density. To the east, single-family high-density, and to the west, community commercial. The property is 14,810 square feet in size, which does meet the 6,500 square foot minimum required in the R1C zoning. The property currently has 125 feet of frontage on Wager Avenue. Per the R1C zoning, the minimum required lot width is 65 feet. The recording of the lot split will create a non-conforming lot width of 60 feet for parcel 67. And the lot is presently a vacant lot. I'll skip ahead to the analysis. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow less than the required 65-foot lot width for the single-family dwelling. Per section 28-305, the minimum lot width requirement is 65 feet. The existing parcel is a 125-foot by 107-foot lot that the applicant is proposing to split into two lots for a single-family dwelling on each lot. The lot was created through the Reedell's addition to the Joinerville subdivision in 1887, prior to existing zoning standards, and at the time designated South Street as a 25-foot right-of-way. Since then, South Street has expanded to a 4-lane right-of-way, which has removed from the available lot width on the subject parcel. Through the creation of the lot split, Lot 66 will have a width of 65 feet, as required in the zoning. On the other hand, Lot 67 will have a lot width of 60 feet, to which the applicant is requesting a variance. The applicant stated that the recording of the lot split has not yet been submitted to the county because he doesn't want to go forward without the benefit of the variance to develop on Lot 67. The applicant would like to have the variance granted for the lesser lot and to then record the lot split through the clerk of courts. Aside from the lot width, there would be no other nonconformities created as a result of the lot split. If the variance is granted, the setbacks will remain the same. So the property in its existing configuration does meet the standards of the R1C zoning. The process of the lot split would create a nonconformity, which the applicant is requesting the variance. Criteria B of the powers of BA states that special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant is imposing the hardship that is being presented through the lot split. On the other hand, being that the R1C zoning requires a minimum lot width of 65 feet, could be justified that the parcel in its existing configuration does not meet the intent of the zoning. The language in the intent states that it is a district that's established as a designation to promote stable, quality residential development at slightly increased densities. Single-family dwelling on a 0.34 acre lot providing 125 feet of frontage is not consistent with the R1C zoning and does not offer the parcel's highest and best use. So staff does recommend denial of the request to allow a variance of 5 feet for the lot width creation in the R1C zoning. In denying the variance, special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. The lot in its existing configuration does meet the R1C zoning, and the hardship would be created as a result of their request for the lot split. So I do want to point you to page 61, which illustrates the proposed lot split. We see through that split, the lot 66 would have the lot width of 65 feet, which is the minimum required, creating lot 67 to the south, lot width of 60 feet. So that is the proposed lot split. And page 64 has the existing survey, which has the which shows the 125 feet of frontage on Wager Avenue. And that is the parcel in its existing configuration. That concludes my presentation.
Did the expansion of South Street reduce the frontage on the lot as it is today?
So there is nothing to indicate that that specifically happened, but perhaps that it's justified that being that it was expanded, that obviously the lot was developed on for the right-of-way expansion.
Thank you. Any other questions to staff? Hearing and seeing none, I'll turn it over to the public. Madam Secretary, any speakers?
Thomas Davis.
Mr. Davis? Would you first please give us your name and your address?
My name is Thomas Davis. Address is 3342 St. Vincent Lane, Claremont, Florida, 34711.
Thank you. You have the floor.
All right, so when we looked at the original plat of this property, it looked like lot 66 and 67 both were 77 feet in width. So with the combined footage of 125 feet, I can only assume that we lost 29 feet to the expansion of South Street. If you pull up the plat in the property appraisals, that's what it shows, that it was initially 77 feet of frontage on each lot. So we did lose frontage to the South Street expansion, bringing lot 67 down to, lot 66 down to 48 feet. So with our current 125 feet frontage, because lot 66 is on South Street, which is a major road, we have a 20-foot required setback on that side to the road. So we already have our architect building, drawing up 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, 2-car garage to put on each lot. They would be 30 feet wide, which would meet the setback requirements on both lots. Initially, I understand the denial stated that requesting the variances, we're actually creating the need for a variance. However, losing frontage to South Street is what created the variance. If you look at the homes in the area, they're averaging between 900 and 1,300 square feet. So we feel like putting a single family home on a 0.34 acre lot is not going to fit the remainder of the community. It's going to be a 1,500 square foot home with a massive yard. And that's not what anything in that community looks like. So the reason we would prefer to put 2 homes on the property, obviously, profit. Everybody wants to make money. The city, the county gets taxable revenue on 2 properties now instead of 1. And then secondly, we feel like the 2 homes would fit the community better than 1 home on a large lot, especially on that corner.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. Anything else?
I felt like I had a lot, and
Well,
now I'm like, I don't have anything.
I'll give you another opportunity.
Um,
Any questions at this point by our board?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Was any consideration given to creating 2 62.5-foot lots as opposed to one that's non-conforming and one that's conforming? It might be better use of the property.
But initially, we wanted to go ahead and make it an even split. However, the 20-foot setback required on South Street is what made us afraid, because we're losing 20 feet of side because it's on South Street. So we concluded that making the South Street lot a little bit bigger would make it a little bit easier to put both properties on there and give them similar yard space and a similar footprint on the property. But if that gives us a go, we're good with it.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis? Or Mr. Davis, any other comments? If you've collected your thoughts?
Oh, no, I think I got it all. I think we're good to go.
Okay, then in that case, you are free to have a seat.
Thank you.
Any other questions to staff?
Is there any question in your mind that they could not meet the setbacks if the lot were?
Are you referencing the side corner setbacks?
Side yard setbacks?
I would have to
What
take
are
a
they?
closer look at that.
Or R1s? Not?
It is, the side corner is 20 feet.
20 feet side corner. 10 for the side yard?
Interior side yard, correct.
Are we still waiting on an answer, or are you good? Okay. Any other, closing the public hearing, any other discussion amongst the board, comments, discussion, or a motion for or against the variance? No discussion?
Just being familiar with the neighborhood does appear to be a very good use of property. Mr. Davis was correct. The lots are small, the houses are small. Flavor is.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or discussion?
None.
Seeing and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the variance.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve variance request 2022 709 Wager Street, reducing the front yard setback by 5 feet with, the required front yard width by 5 feet. Conjunction with the lot split proposed.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing and seeing none. Madam Secretary, if we could please have roll call.
Member Wheelis?
Yes.
Alternate Member Mandernack?
Yes.
Alternate Member Van Zildjian?
Yes,
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Member Van Deven.
Okay, thank you. Your variance has been approved. You are welcome to hear out the rest of the meeting. You are also free to go. Good luck to you. All right. That covers the new business that we had as far as variance request goes. However, all right, going back up to our agenda items, there are no remaining public present, but any requests from the public would now be heard. And hearing none, we move on to the report section of our agenda, which would be approval of the semi-annual report, which is found on page 70 of your PDF packet. Once you take a look through there, let me know if there's any discussion. Otherwise, we can entertain a motion to approve. Any motion?
I have a motion to approve the semi-annual report.
I have a motion. Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. Any discussion on this? No? All right. All in favor of approving the semi-annual report? Say aye.
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 All right. If I'm not missing anything, I think that concludes our meeting. Okay. Oh yes, for the good of the group. I guess I should ask any information from city or staff.
Currently have 3 variance requests on the docket for February, so.
So that's exciting. 3. Okay. Anything from our members that you wish to share?
It's very likely that I will not be at the next meeting for medical reasons.
Okay.
And additionally, I had a question for Naviel earlier. He referred me to Ms. Farrell. In our disclosures at the beginning of the meeting, we're asked a question. Have we visited the sites, contacted the public, da-da-da-da? Well, lumping in visiting the sites with having contact with the public is probably, it gives it a negative flavor, because I have visited nearly every site in town at one time or another. And I think it actually is in our own best interest if we were to familiarize ourselves with each one of these sites, just to verify the physical configurations of the request. Because I was greatly surprised when I went by the site of the cell tower variance request that we had last month, and how tight it was actually packed into a neighborhood full of small buildings. It was, I believe we would have had a different discussion if we had seen that. And that's not the first time that's come about, but I have an advantage over most of the board members in that I am familiar with much of the city, but they don't get that opportunity to see the city the way I have.
So 2 things. The board membership is intended to be diverse with various different backgrounds, especially in the building trades and land use type expertise. And so it is somewhat presumed that there may be varying levels of knowledge about these types of things. So I believe that, Mr. Member Willis, your expertise is appreciated and well known when you were appointed, of your experience with working with the city as a former building official and your experience here living in Titusville. So I think that sits on its own as it may. You're not currently engaged in any work for development, and that would potentially create a conflict. And that's one of the things that we would look for. With respect to the statement of whether you have visited any of the sites or spoken to any members of the public, it's specifically regarding an item to be reviewed this evening. And so the question is in the frame of, upon notification of the item being applied for a variance, did you go and do additional research as the judge of this particular item? You may have passed by all of the sites, through your regular course of driving and activities in and around town, but that's not necessarily an answer to the question. The question is specific to whether you are investigating the application and agenda items before you. That may or may not answer your question. If you do go to a site with respect to an application coming before you, then your answer would be appropriate to say yes, what you are looking at and for. And so if the other board members haven't had the same opportunity to go drive by and do a visual inspection of the site, it's important for them to know if other board members have done that activity. And because you may perceive something that the applicant needs to know that you have gone and investigated the site. And that's the purpose of asking that question. And so it needs to just be on the record what type of investigation or conversations you may have had so that the applicant can respond to each member who may have those particular pieces of information that the others may not.
All right, just to clarify, there's nothing in and of itself that's inappropriate with visiting the site.
It's not inappropriate, but the procedure requires that the applicant know who's visited and what they may have talked about with others so that they can respond to anything you may have learned that may be biased by only partial information that you may have gained through that investigative process. So it's for the purpose of the applicant to be able to correspond with the member's investigation.
Thank you very much. That helps.
Thank you for that clarification. This is David. I've got to go.
Adios.
All right, thank you. I think that actually concludes our meeting as a whole. So we are in adjournment.